Unless you guys have been, hiding under a rock or whatever, you guys would know that the 76ers had lost in an improbable fashion, losing to a buzzer beater with the ball bounced like 4 times. Wow, that was just crazy. But, you know, that's in the past. We're looking to the future because this is a what's next for the 76ers. So, looking forward, I really don't know what's next for them, considering the fact that they went all in this year. They traded a lot of young assets, a lot of assets that were, important to their team to go and get these guys, that would better their team. The guys, speaking of, are Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler. But let's just overview those trades then and now from my perspective. So for the Jimmy Butler trade, pretty sure it was Dario Saric, Robert Covington, and I want to say a pick. I think. I'm not too sure. And I know they got back Jimmy Butler and Justin Patton. But then when they first made the trade, I didn't really like it at first because of, how Jimmy Butler was viewed as a chemistry killer, team killer. That's how I viewed it. And I didn't like the fit at all. You already have Ben Simmons who can't shoot a lick, and then you have Joel Embiid who can't shoot either, really. And then you add Jimmy Butler, who he can space the floor, he can hit the three, but that's not his main game. His main game is the mid-range to paint area. So yeah, there's that. Looking at it now, though, I feel like that trade was a great trade. Jimmy Butler was a great closer for them. Great playoff performer. I say he was probably their most important player in the playoffs. Because he carried them through some tough times. So yeah, there's that. And then you have the Tobias Harris trade, where they traded Landry Shamet, I'm pretty sure there's another player involved, and that Miami Heat 2021 pick for Tobias Harris, Mike Scott, and Boban. And when the trade initially happened, it's funny because it's kind of reversed. When the trade initially happened, I thought it was a great trade for them. They got a stretch four guy who can, open up the offense even more and free up some guys, But looking at it now, I think the trade was still good, but I don't know if it was as good as, entailed, considering how Landry Shamet had played in the playoffs for the Clippers, and looking at, what's going to happen to that Miami Heat 2021 pick, because I don't think at all the Heat will be good. I do think they will be a lottery team, and, with the new lottery odds, that pick could, end up being in the top 5 or the top 3, which is crazy to think about now. So yeah, there's that. But I mean, looking forward for them, I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be really tough considering how their starting lineup was constructed, or how it's going to be constructed going on. I mean, you got JJ Redick, who's really old. I think he's like 34, 35, 36 now. And then you have Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler, who you're going to have to resign. And those guys are going to demand a lot of money in free agency. So, I mean, yeah, if you're the Sixers, I think there's 3 main options for them. So I just want to get into those really quickly. I think there's really 2 realistic ones, and then one like maybe not so realistic one. So the first option I think for them is to just run it back with the same, guys. Re-sign Jimmy, re-sign Tobias, and then use that mid-level exception to hopefully get, maybe a cheap veteran who can help you out. I don't really like this plan as much though, considering the fact that we saw what had happened to them with this team. I understand, they were, one crazy buzzer beater away from making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't know. I don't think they can replicate it. I just don't think so, considering how Joel played. Maybe that could have a burden on him, with what's going on internally too. And plus, I don't think Jimmy wants to come back anyway. And speaking of Jimmy, I don't know how you could give him a max contract if you are the Sixers, because a max would probably be a 4-year, around 35 plus mil a year. And I don't know about that. Do you want to be paying a 33-year-old Jimmy Butler 35 mil? I don't think so. So yeah, I think it'd probably be best. See, it's too hard to say because Jimmy was a very crucial part of their success this season. So maybe if you can bring him back on maybe like a short 2, maybe 3-year deal with like a team option involved somewhere there, that would be great. I would definitely do that if I was the Sixers. And then Tobias, I think if it goes past maybe 20 mil, you just let him walk, because there are some stretch fours who can maybe give you 60 to 70 to 80% of what Tobias gives you for a significant pay cut, for a lot cheaper. So I think, you maybe pursue that route if you're the Sixers. But, first option, run it back with the same, core guys. I think I would, I don't think I would do that if I was the Sixers. Now, the second option, which I think the Sixers should do, is maybe give Jimmy a short-term contract, maybe a 2-year deal, and then use the remaining money to go out and fill your team with more pieces, fill that bench, because that bench was atrocious in the playoffs. I didn't even get to talk about the bench, they had guys like Jonathan Simmons. Oh, that's another thing I didn't even get to touch on. Let me touch on that really quickly. The trade, Markelle Fultz for Jonathan Simmons, was such a horrible trade from the get. I thought it was bad from the moment it started, and I think it's bad now. Wow. You trading, the first overall pick, didn't really get to have a great start to his career. I feel like he had an unfair start, as maybe some other first-round picks would have. For Jonathan Simmons, that was just horrible all around. You could have definitely gotten a way better difference maker to help you in the playoffs for him. But besides the fact, that's already came and gone. That's gone now. But back to what I was saying. Yeah, re-signing Jimmy to a short-term deal, and then, using the remaining money, if you even have some remaining money, to try and fill out the bench, looking at guys that they could potentially go after. Guys like Dwayne Dedman, Terrence Ross are, two guys that I would love to see them go after. 2 3-and-D guys would be great. And, yeah. That's really it. Just try to, get some great role players to surround the big three of Ben, Jimmy, and Embiid with. And I think if you do that, you should be able to at least make it back to the second round. I think this team, if they do keep the same core of the four, I think they will without a doubt be able to make it to the second round every single year, barring injuries or something crazy like that. But I don't know if they will be able to get over that hump, considering how all the other teams are constructed. And to move on to my last option for them, which I don't see as realistic at all, but maybe there's been some talks about it, is trading either Joel or Ben Simmons. I think it's pretty obvious now. Well, maybe not obvious, but it's being shown that maybe Joel and Ben cannot play together. Their play styles do not coexist, because both of them are in the paint players. Relative to Ben Simmons, past the half court, he just isn't as effective, as maybe you would like him to be. Not being able to shoot. If you had a shot, man, this team could go places. But yeah, you always see guys sag off into the paint, because he can't shoot, and that's a hamper on that's a burden, that's a burden on him. And until he's able to get a shot, it's gonna be a burden on the team. So yeah, it's either him or Joel. I would personally keep Joel and trade Ben, considering, Ben is younger. You'd be able to get better assets for him, potentially. And I feel like building around Joel is probably easier than building around Simmons. But now that I think about it, I don't know. Because, trying to build around a center in today's league, especially a center of Joel's, Joel's play style, not one who can stretch the floor or is a great playmaker, can be kind of tough. We see what's happening in New Orleans with Anthony Davis, how they're unable to really build around him. But then again, that's New Orleans. Same thing with Sacramento and DeMarcus Cousins. But, again, that's Sacramento. So those franchises, aren't really anything too crazy. But, yeah, I would keep Joel. If you could trade Ben for some great pieces, I don't know what you're able to get from them. I think you should be able to get at least a young star, a veteran, and maybe some more draft picks or something like that. I don't know what team, has that. That would be for them to figure out, But that could be something to explore. Or, you take the other route, trading for Joel. Joel, I don't think he's the fittest of people. I think a story came out of what meals he eats throughout the season, and it's crazy. It's no wonder he got a stomach virus. So I like Joel though. He gave you 28 and 12 this year, which is amazing. And it's not talked about as much as it should be. I do believe he is the best center in this league. You know, if he can clean up those injuries, man, that'd be great. But I mean, maybe that's something that they should start thinking about. You know, splitting up the pair. I don't know. I personally do think they should at least think about it, because I don't think these guys can coexist. I don't think they will probably ever be able to coexist. I mean, with Ben's mindset, I think he had an interview earlier, you know, about what Kobe said. Kobe said that, you know, he needs to develop a shot, and I think he said like he doesn't care what Kobe says or something like that. So that mentality isn't good. And also, I do believe Ben is weak-minded, you know. He never like goes off or anything until like somebody says something about him. So I mean, yeah, you know, but it's gonna be tough for them. You know, it's gonna be real tough. They're gonna have to make some tough decisions. But I mean, I like the Sixers. You know, their young core is great, so I think they'll be able to get over this hump and hopefully compete for a title in the future years. Not compete. I mean, they're already competing for a title, but hopefully win a title in the future years. Thank you guys so much. This is my first video, so don't go too hard on me in the comments, you know, whatever. I would like some feedback though. So yeah, it's been Abba the Sun. I'm out. Peace.